Hello and welcome to the Resilient Kid podcast with some very special guests today. I am going to let them introduce themselves because they will do so much better than me. But when I have a young person, I feel like it's a bit of a kid's takeover. So I absolutely want you to lead. Hello, who are you? Tell us who you are.
I am James.
Hi, James. And who have you got with you today?
My mummy,
And tell me, what's mummy's name?
Malou.
Hello, Malou. So, Malou is a guest on the podcast before. She's an old friend of the show. We've had you on before. And today we've got you with James. James, how old are you?
I just turned 8 on Saturday.
Amazing. Happy birthday. Did you have a
Yeah.
nice time?
Yep.
Oh, cool. What did you do for your birthday?
Shows. Loads of them.
Shows. Tell me, what's that? What's that?
The first one was a dress rehearsal.
Oh, I see. So you was in a show. Oh, how fancy. What show was it?
Whopper was Hercules. Then Lipper, the Lion King.
Amazing. They are two big hitters for musicals, aren't they? And what parts did you play or what parts do you get involved in those shows?
I played heroes. I don't have any lines.
Oh, how fantastic. That is such a good part though. Lines on
And,
is amazing.
and in the Lion King, I was Zazu.
That is a very funny, very cool character. Oh, congratulations. That's amazing. And on your birthday as well. Awesome. Well done. I can see that we're going to have a very interesting conversation then. So, can you tell our audience, James, why you're here today? Why have I asked you to be a guest on this very special Kids Takeover podcast? What have you got to show us or tell us about today?
The Woos.
The Woo Cycle. Yes, of course. What is it? So, bearing in mind, nobody can see us because we're just doing this in audio today. What is the Woo Cycle that you have? I haven't got a copy here because it's not actually released yet. Oh, but you have. I love it. Tell the audience, what is it?
Book.
And who did you write it with?
My mummy.
Yes, which is why we've invited her back too. So, can you tell us what's it about? What is the Woo Cycle book all about?
It's about Lena and her mum talking about the site, the site, the Woo cycle.
So, I am very lucky, listeners, to be able to not only see the beautiful James and her mummy Malou, but I think I can spot in the background Lena. Am I right? Is behind you? Is that Lena? Beautiful. So, who do you think is best placed to tell us about the Woo Cycle? Would that be you or would that be Mummy, do you think?
Me.
Go on then. Tell us all about what is the Woo Cycle?
It started as when Bowie went to the bathroom and saw mummy bleeding.
Okay. That is so interesting. I'll tell you why, because I think that happens a lot. I think that happens a lot because as mums, we're busy and kids coming in and out of the bathroom all the time. And so I think that happens a lot. So what happens next then?
She says, "You're bleeding. Are you okay?"
Why? What's the worry there?
Because she sees blood and she thinks it's a harm.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit then around what happens next.
I'm not so sure.
Okay. Do you
Nothing.
want to jump in, Mum?
Yeah, this is so Bowie is James, her little sister. She's
Mm.
4 now, but when this happened, I think she must have been 3 and maybe even 2. I think she was 3 and you were 6. And Bowie said, "Why are you bleeding?" And I said, "It's because I have my period. I'm on my period." And Bowie then left the bathroom and sat on our bed. And James sat with her. And you actually started explaining to Bowie what that meant, didn't you? Can you remember what words you used?
No, I cannot, because it was only a while ago that you told me and you told me once. So, no.
Okay, so if I was to ask you then, why did you write the book? Why was it so important that you wrote this book, do you think?
Help children understand that sometimes blood isn't a harm.
Brilliant. Okay. And I think that's a bit of a mission of that you share with mum, isn't it? So tell us then, would you be able to explain kind of periods and stuff to other kids like you did? Would you be able to do that for our listeners? Because I'll tell you why. I think some parents out there don't always have the words, or if they do, the words are not always easy for the children to understand. So I think this is absolutely perfect if you can explain it, because then we will have younger listeners hear it from you and probably understand it much better.
Okay.
Take it away. That's okay. Maybe the way you described it to Bowie, which was the rooms making a bed for the baby.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me.
Mm.
It's womb making a bed for a baby, and if no baby comes to stay, it'll clear sheets.
Oh my goodness. I have never heard it described like that. And all I can say, that is like the perfect definition. I love that. And it's so easy to understand as well. Oh, no wonder you're an author. That is just perfect. So you are brilliant at this. So tell us a little bit about Lena then. What happens to her in the book?
At the start, she comes in and sees her mum bleeding. And then at the rest of the book, her mum basically describes that it's not a sore.
And so why did you call the book The Woo Cycle?
I don't really know.
Is this a question for Mummy, do you think?
I do.
Excellent.
Yeah, because in the
We have to
same
bring you in somewhere,
in that
Marlou. We
same
have to.
metaphor that thank you, I appreciate that. In that same metaphor, when James was explaining to Bowie what periods are and why there was blood, she
Woo.
can you say that again?
Say that
A
again for
womb.
me.
Woo. Instead of woo, I said woo.
And then that was
Wow.
it. So it was basically just you giving a little nickname. Not maybe not on purpose, but I think that's what you had heard me say, womb, and you just thought it was woo. So we thought, you know what? That's actually a really nice that's a nice word for a little character,
Name.
a nice nickname. And it was important for me, and I think for the mission of what we want to achieve with the book, that it's not just about introducing periods, but that it's actually about introducing periods as part of a cycle. So I think by introducing the word cycle to it, yeah, I just felt like it captured the story in the book. It was correct.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
felt correct.
I love it. So tell us then a little bit about that cycle, James. So we've got Lena's noticed this blood. Her mom has explained it to her, but tell us a little bit about the cycle. So now she knows that mum's not hurt and that this is a normal thing, but tell us a little bit about the cycle.
Is it every month it bleeds? And it's not really a harm, but it will repeat. It stops.
Excellent. And who chose the name of the little girl in the book?
I think it was Mummy. Okay, then it was me.
Excellent.
That is well
Um,
over a year ago. This book has been long in the making.
yeah, I bet. Okay, so I'm going to ask, are you okay, James, if I ask Mummy a couple of questions?
Yes, I'm fine.
Is that
I get a rest.
X? You get rest. Yes, well deserved rest, by the way. So, Marlou, tell us a little bit about why this book and why now?
The work that we're doing with period reality is we educate about and advocate for living in sync with your cycle. So it's all about those biological, natural rhythms that we all have, men and women, and that are so often overlooked by in the way that we've designed society, right? So obviously, and in our home, we talk a lot about these cycles and when we talk about what mommy does. And so they were just day to day conversations. And I had just been writing some notes in terms of the words that I heard James use when she talked about periods or the questions that she asked. And one of the first big things was she was in the supermarket with her dad, and we're both Dutch. And in the Netherlands, the word for pad, of whether it's a cotton pad or your pad, is the same word. So he'd asked her to pick some up in the supermarket. She was 4 back then. And she came back with menstrual pads. And he was like, "Oh, I meant the other one, babe, but do you know what these are for?" And she said, "Yeah, it's for when mommy has her period." And he was like, "Oh, that's brilliant. What does that mean?" And she said, "It's when there's blood coming out of mommy's baby hole when there's no baby inside." And I thought that was such a good way to describe it again. And it's probably a little bit too graphic, so we haven't put that exactly in the book. But that's when I started making some of those notes. And so when I overheard that conversation between James and Bowie and that metaphor of your room is making a bed for the baby, and when there's no baby, it just changes sheets. I thought that is such a beautiful metaphor. And if it's language that she not only that wasn't how I had explained it. So in my head, there had already been a translation in me trying to share with her what it was and her putting her own words to it. So I felt that's probably a good metaphor for a story. And in all honesty, we had a volunteer with Period Reality who was an illustrator, and she had just designed the 4 characters that we have to talk about the 4 different parts of the cycle. And idea was I'll ask James to draw some of the pages and maybe she can digitize some of her drawings and then we'll get it printed on a photo album, print site, whatever. And if one or two people read it, that'll be great. And then I think it was just the perfect mix of James, her excitement around it. I could tell from the beginning she was interested in the language, in the manuscript, in the text. And then the illustrator became really passionate about it. And she is just incredibly talented. But once we got started, it was like, this is not going to be a DIY project. We're going to have to do this for real. And it's just been an incredible journey.
Yeah, and I love the fact that how insightful is James that she's taken the information that she's overheard or specifically been given, and she's translated that like yourself because she's very clever and really insightful and come up with kind of her own, not language, but her own kind of narrative around it. And that is just amazing. And I think we need to listen more to our young people and how they're describing stuff instead of trying to put our own kind of language and words on it and go, this is what you must use, this is what you must use. We started a series a couple of weeks ago on the podcast about the language that we use, the narratives that we use. And that's why I really wanted to get James on this week, because I felt like it was really important because it just slots in really well. Okay, before I ask James to come back on, is there anything else? Because you just mentioned, and I know we'll put a link back to the guest spot that you came on and we talked all about kind of period reality and the cycle and the rhythm of the cycle and stuff. Is there anything else that, before we go back to the book, that you think parents should know around educating our young people around this?
I think you just described it perfectly. Sometimes we need to listen more because I think, especially in these types of conversations, parents often don't have the confidence around the language that they think they might be expected to use or saying the wrong thing, or they get a little bit awkward about it. And I think this is just such a perfect example of when we actually explain things pretty matter of fact. The book we say is for 4 to 8 year olds. And we started with 5 to 8 year olds. And then, we had parents coming back in our research phase saying, I would definitely read this to my 4 year old. And what we found is that by just sharing openly, and obviously through the book, we hope to provide some language so that parents feel more confident in having this conversation in a very gentle and age appropriate way. But children just take that as facts and move on. And I think that's the same for a lot of these conversations, is that if you don't have the conversation with them, someone else will. And it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be awkward. We had beautiful feedback from dads who read this with their girls and said, I actually probably subconsciously always accepted that this was a conversation she was going to have with her mom. And I'm quite excited about the idea that she might now come to me with questions. And I love that, because it's not often that dads don't want to have the conversation that moms end up doing it. It's just that's the way it goes, or that is the way it happens to unfold. Whereas I think this is a great way to get dads involved as well. And we've had in the research phase a lot of parents reading this to little boys as well. And the response to the book has been exactly the same across the board. And I think that's a really important message as well, that it doesn't really matter whether they will have a period themselves or not, and whether they have a menstrual cycle or a womb inside them. It's just, I think, a beautiful way to introduce the topic. And yeah, it's nothing to be scared of. And actually, it can turn something that you might be a little bit scared of into a really beautiful, nostalgic moment. And that's kind of what I hope. I hope that people will just create memories in reading this book with their kids. And yeah.
I think you're right there. And I think so on the podcast, when I'm doing, and I haven't got a guest on, I often use case studies that I have had come through my doors. And one of them is about a dad who is, mum and dad are not together anymore. And actually, there has got to be a conversation because the daughter is going to his house. And he said, it's not that I'm scared of doing it. I'm just not, I don't know if I have the words. Whereas if we introduce this at an earlier age and we're all on the same page, and it is not, it's just something we accept, kids accept it far more than us. And I think just removing that embarrassment, giving the words to those parents and to the kids, they'll come up and they'll interpret themselves just like James. I remember my kids saying baby basket instead of womb. That was, and I'd never used that term. It was just something that I must have said, oh, that's where you carry the baby. And they've just gone, oh, so that's your baby basket. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. When we need to listen, definitely need to listen more.
Yeah. And sorry.
Amazing. No, go
Well,
on,
and I
please.
think the book also leaves the possibility to have the conversation at a broader scale. I know you just asked James as well of some examples of the cycle. So there's a gorgeous page in the book around, there's Lena sitting with a male figure, which one could assume is their dad, but doesn't have to be, on a bench, and they're just looking out over the ocean. And there's all the different kind of moon shapes in the sky, right? If you want to talk about cycles and introduce that as a concept, and like the moon, we have a 28-day cycle on average or whatever, there's space to do that. But if not, it's still a magical picture in the book to look at. And you flick through to the next page, right? And there's a page in there where it says, some days mommy rests, some days she runs. Normalizing this idea that we're not always have to be on. We don't always have to be productive and effective and run around. And we sometimes do, but that might not be what we always feel like. And I think it just creates opportunity for parents to have those conversations, parents, carers, educators, to a much deeper extent, if they feel like that fits with their family values, or if that fits with their language, or whether their kid is ready for it. But the illustrations itself are gorgeous and should provide enough for the kids to look at anyway.
Yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. And I think you're right. Your illustrator is just exquisite. Really beautiful stuff.
My Amor.
But also,
Isn't that a name that's ready to be famous as well? My Amor. And this is the first book she's illustrated. So I'm hoping this is going to set her off on a very successful career. My Amor. Remember that name.
excellent. And we will, if she's got Instagram profile and stuff, we'll put it in the show notes for sure so that people can search out and look at her work. Okay. So, Malu, obviously, you know I love talking to you, but it is time that we get back the star of the show. Is James there, and can she answer some more questions? Has she rested enough as the starlet to be able to answer some questions? Amazing, thank you. James, what is the favourite part of the book for you? That might be a picture, might be a character, Might be some words that you've used in it.
I like how they rhyme.
Oh, could you give me an example?
Yeah. Lena ran to the loo. Mum was bleeding. What should she do?
Amazing. Excellent. That is so cool. And then, second question, I've got 3 questions for you. Second question, do you think that there might be a book 2? Would you like to do another book, do you think? Now you're going to become a famous author and all. Yeah? Oh, that's exciting. That
Oh,
is
that's nice we
exciting.
know that
And then,
you're hoping to be famous one day.
Every work that I want to do, I want to be famous with it because I want to be a singer when I grow up, and I want to be as much famous as I can be.
okay, so let me ask you this. This is an extra question because I was going to ask you 3, but I'm going to ask you this because it's important. Right? Why do you think you want to be famous?
Because everyone will know my name wherever I go.
And can I just say that is an exclusive here on The Resilient Kid. So when in a few years' time we hear of this famous James around the world, I interviewed her first. Just saying. Okay. Okay. Last question for you. So now I'm very lucky that I'm able to come to your book launch and I feel very grateful and very lucky to come. However, not everybody's as lucky as me. Okay. So when can they get hold of this magnificent story slash beautifully illustrated
Where?
book of yours
Where or
called The Blue
when?
Side? Let's say both. When first? Is it on your little picture you showed me before? Is
How
the
many
date on
nights
there?
sleep?
3. That's book launches.
3 sleeps. Amazing. What date is that,
This
Marley?
Thursday, July 9th.
Okay. So this podcast is out that day. So do not be slow in going to get your copy because it is out today. If you're listening to this podcast on Thursday the 9th, it is out today. How amazing is that? Okay, brilliant. So, next question, where can we get it? Where can we buy this amazing
Amazon.
book? On Amazon. Brilliant. So, we will also put the link so that they can go and buy.
Mhm.
Yeah, shall we do that? Brilliant. Okay, a promise, last question for you. What would you tell mums and dads and educators and carers, so all the grown-ups, if they wanted to talk to younger people about periods and about this, what would you say to them? Because I know that there'll be some people, some grown-ups out there, James, that might be a little bit nervous. What would you say about talking to our young people about this topic? What would you say to the parents and carers out there?
Make it sound easy.
Make it sound easy because it is, isn't it? The way you described it, that has never been an easier description than I heard yours. I have never heard a better description than yours.
Yep.
Excellent. You are welcome. And thank you for coming on the podcast. Before I let you go, Malou, is there anything else you want to add?
Now, is there anything you want to add, James, that you'd like to share before we wrap up? Did you enjoy working with Mummy?
Yeah. And especially when she took me out of clubs when she took me out of clubs and then we just went to a restaurant for a meeting. It was fun.
Excellent. So instead of doing after school clubs, she took you out, took you to so that's what we do as grown-ups when we work. We'll go to a restaurant or we'll go to a cafe, we'll have a little meeting, take notes. That's the kind of thing that you did. Amazing. So I can see you're going to be really good at work, aren't you? Especially if the meetings take place in restaurants. I love it. I love it. James, Marlou, can I just say I am so excited for this project. I am so excited to see you soon in person. And just, I cannot wait for the world to get their hands on this and for the world to know your name, James.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming on the Resilient
so,
Kid
so
podcast.
much. So much.
You are welcome. And I feel like, even though we're only doing this in audio, honestly, listeners, we have the beautiful Malou, the beautiful, insightful, and talented James. And then just to the right of the screen, we have the beautifully illustrated Lena. So it feels like it's a collaboration between the three of them. And it is so lovely. I cannot wait to get actual physical book in my hand. So please go out and buy it, share it with family and friends. And particularly, I think one of the things that you said, Malu, that I really resonated with is grandparents as well having this kind of resource, because I think sometimes that's a different generation. They're not always as open, but actually it gives them the language to be able to share those special moments as well with their grandchildren, not just their granddaughters, but their grandchildren. So thank you both. This is a very special book that's going out into the world. And I feel like we've had a bit of a glimpse into the newly going to be newly famous James, but also around how special this project is. And I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you for
So
having
thank
us.
you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
You are welcome. I'm going to put all the details in the show notes. So listeners, get yourself a copy, get yourself over to the website, have a look at the illustrator that we will put details to her too. And thank you for joining us. Take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye for now.